Welcome back to ABCGH Spoilers channel. Today we will learn about the intricate web of secrets, confrontations, and emotional turmoil unfolding in Port Charles this week. The complicated dance of Brooklyn and Chase. Brooklyn Quartermain finds herself at a crossroads as Harrison Chase implores her to leave the painful memories of her past behind. His concern isn't merely for her emotional well-being, it's deeply intertwined with keeping their shared secret buried. Moving forward is the only way to ensure what's hidden stays hidden, Chase emphasizes during their tense conversation. Despite Chase's optimistic prediction that Brooklyn could find happiness in her future, she remains skeptical. The weight of giving up Dante's baby boy for adoption without his knowledge has created an invisible barrier between her and any potential joy. This secret hangs like a dark cloud over her conscience, especially knowing that Lulu is aware of this devastating truth. Their relationship faces mounting challenges in the coming days. The chemistry between them continues to simmer beneath the surface, complicated by their shared knowledge and mutual protection of a truth that could shatter multiple lives in Port Charles. Brooklyn's characteristic stubbornness might prevent her from accepting Chase's advice, potentially leading to decisions that could expose everything they've worked to conceal. Dante and Lulu's trust issues explode. The Spencer-Falconeri marriage hits another rough patch as trust issues bubble to the surface. Lulu confronts Dante about his credibility, questioning whether she can truly rely on him after discovering he concealed his teenage relationship with Brooklyn. The irony of her accusation is palpable, considering she's harboring a far more consequential secret. "Can I really trust you?" Lulu demands, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and guilt. The hypocrisy of her position isn't lost on viewers, as she continues to withhold the earth-shattering information about Dante's son, a child he doesn't even know exists. This confrontation occurs amid rising tensions, with Olivia Quartermain potentially witnessing their heated exchange. Olivia, who has always considered herself something of a peacemaker in the family, might attempt to mediate between the couple, unaware of the true depth of their issues. Her well-intentioned intervention could inadvertently complicate matters further, especially if she pushes for honesty between the pair. Olivia's unexpected gift and Alexis's confidences. In a touching moment amid the chaos, Olivia Quartermain presents someone special with an unexpected gift, hoping to bring a spark of happiness to Port Charles. Her generosity showcases the warmth that makes her character beloved, even as she unwittingly stumbles upon a confrontation that requires her intervention. Meanwhile, Alexis Davis seeks solace in her friendship with Diane Miller, sharing burdens that have become too heavy to bear alone. Their conversation provides a rare moment of vulnerability for the typically composed attorney. Diane's sharp wit and unwavering loyalty make her the perfect confidant for Alexis during these troubling times. The friendship between these two powerful women has weathered numerous storms in Port Charles, and this heart-to-heart reinforces the importance of their bond. As Alexis unburdens herself, viewers gain insight into her current struggles and the emotional toll recent events have taken on her. Elizabeth's mission and Rick's deception. Elizabeth Baldwin embarks on a mission that leads her to Rick Lansing's hospital room, concerned about his condition following the crash. Her compassionate nature drives her to check on him, unaware that she's walking into a web of deception carefully constructed by Ava and Rick. Upon her arrival, Rick must perform a delicate balancing act, appearing appreciative of Elizabeth's concern while simultaneously protecting Ava's blackmail scheme. His performance must be convincing enough to prevent Elizabeth from suspecting anything amiss, particularly regarding Christina's involvement in the accident. Elizabeth's nursing instincts might pick up on subtle inconsistencies in Rick's story, potentially complicating his alliance with Ava. Her persistent questioning could force Rick to elaborate on his fabricated version of events, increasing the risk of contradictions that might later expose the truth. Ava's blackmail scheme takes shape. Desperate and determined, Ava Jerome convinces Rick Lansing to maintain his silence about the accident, allowing her to implement a calculated blackmail plan. Her motivation is twofold: resolving her financial difficulties and gaining leverage in her custody battle with Sonny over their daughter Avery. "This is my chance to finally level the playing field with Sonny," Ava confides to Rick, her eyes gleaming with vindictive satisfaction. Years of feeling powerless against Sonny's influence and resources have culminated in this opportunity for revenge and restitution. The scheme represents a dangerous gamble for Ava, risking not only legal consequences but also potentially permanent damage to her relationship with her daughter. Nevertheless, her resentment towards Sonny's controlling behavior regarding Avery's custody arrangements has pushed her to this extreme measure. Christina's mounting guilt and Lucky's dilemma. Lucky Spencer finds himself caught between loyalty to Christina and honesty with Elizabeth as he maintains the secret about the accident. Though uncomfortable with the deception, Lucky believes he's protecting Christina from devastating consequences, hoping the situation can be resolved without further damage. When Lucky reconnects with Christina later, he notices a shift in her demeanor that suggests she might be considering confession. The burden of guilt weighs heavily on her conscience, challenging her earlier determination to keep the truth hidden. Her internal struggle intensifies as she contemplates the potential fallout of honesty versus continued secrecy. Unbeknownst to Lucky, Christina's potential confession is also influenced by Ava's impending blackmail threat. Caught between her own moral compass and the looming crisis, Christina will soon turn to her father, Sonny, begging for his intervention in addressing Ava's demands. The Corinthos family crisis unfolds. Sonny Corinthos, accustomed to handling problems with his considerable power and influence, faces a uniquely personal challenge as Ava's blackmail scheme targets his daughter Christina. The protective father will soon find himself navigating treacherous waters as he attempts to shield Christina while addressing Ava's demands. The situation creates a perfect storm of vulnerability for the typically untouchable mob boss. Ava's leverage strikes at Sonny's greatest weakness, his family, and forces him to consider options he would normally dismiss outright. The coming days will test his resourcefulness and reveal the lengths to which he'll go to protect his daughter. Christina's plea for help later in the week highlights the severity of Ava's blackmail and the impossible position in which she finds herself. The father-daughter dynamic will be showcased as they work together to address this threat, potentially strengthening their bond even as they face one of their most challenging crises. Next, we will learn about the intriguing developments surrounding Jack Brennan and his suspicious relationship with Jocelyn Jacks that has fans questioning his true motives and agenda. The mysterious Jack Brennan, a wolf in sheep's clothing? Jack Brennan's past connections to the criminal underworld raise serious questions about his current position of authority. The former WSB director's time in Pentonville prison may have provided him with more than just time to reflect. It likely gave him access to valuable criminal networks and information. During his incarceration, Brennan would have crossed paths with numerous inmates connected to Port Charles's most notorious figures, potentially including associates of Cyrus Renault. This prison stint, rather than rehabilitating him, might have been the perfect opportunity to forge dangerous alliances and plot his next moves in a complex game of power and revenge. The timing of Brennan's rise to WSB leadership deserves particular scrutiny. Taking control immediately after Frisco Jones refused to bomb the Greenland laboratory suggests a calculated power grab rather than a legitimate promotion. This transition period coincided with significant shifts in WSB operational protocols, including the controversial drone strike on the Haunted Star, an attack that bore hallmarks of Victor Cassadine's aggressive tactical approach rather than traditional WSB methodology. Could Brennan have been secretly aligned with Victor's faction while publicly opposing him? The evidence increasingly points to a man playing both sides for personal gain. Jocelyn's unwitting role as Brennan's pawn. The relationship between Brennan and Jocelyn Jacks has evolved in a troubling direction that few could have anticipated. What began as mentorship has transformed into something far more sinister: manipulation of a vulnerable young woman seeking justice for Dex Heller's murder. Brennan's recruitment tactics were suspiciously tailored to exploit Jocelyn's emotional state, offering her not just an opportunity for revenge but a false sense of purpose and direction during her period of grief and anger. By channeling her raw emotions toward WSB objectives, he effectively weaponized her trauma. The strategic breadcrumbs Brennan left leading Jocelyn to Cyrus Renault's cabin weren't coincidental, they were meticulously planned to ensure she would arrive at precisely the right moment. A professional operative of Brennan's caliber would never leave such a critical confrontation to chance. Instead, he orchestrated every detail, from the timing of her discovery to ensuring she was armed and emotionally primed to pull the trigger. His decision to remain outside during the confrontation, rather than intervening when a trained agent should have, speaks volumes about his true intentions. The Cyrus Renault elimination, a convenient solution. The elimination of Cyrus Renault solved multiple problems for Brennan while creating new opportunities to advance his agenda. Renault, a longtime thorn in the side of Port Charles law enforcement in the WSB, represented a loose end from Brennan's past operations. Having Jocelyn eliminate him accomplished several objectives simultaneously, removing a dangerous adversary, testing Jocelyn's loyalty and capability as an operative, and creating leverage over both Jocelyn and her mother Carly Spencer through shared complicity in a killing. When analyzing the cabin confrontation, the most damning evidence against Brennan is his inaction. A seasoned WSB director with extensive field experience could easily have neutralized the threat posed by Cyrus and his hatchet without lethal force. Instead, he allowed, perhaps even counted on, Jocelyn using deadly force. This calculated decision ensured Cyrus's permanent silence while binding Jocelyn to Brennan through a shared secret that could destroy her future if revealed. The subsequent cleanup operation and attempt to frame Jason Morgan further demonstrates Brennan's skill at manipulating events to serve multiple purposes. Brennan's connection to Pikeman, the hidden agenda. The revelation that Brennan previously headed the Pikeman organization before Valentine Cassadine took control adds another layer of complexity to his character. This dual role as both WSB director and leader of a criminal enterprise represents an unprecedented conflict of interest that calls into question every operation he oversaw during his tenure. The information Jason Morgan likely uncovered while infiltrating Pikeman under FBI pressure could potentially expose not just operational details but a web of corruption extending throughout both organizations. Brennan's criminal connections extend beyond Pikeman. His strategic positioning within both legitimate and illegitimate power structures suggests a man building his own shadow empire rather than serving any particular ideology or organization. The transition from Brennan to Valentine at Pikeman's helm may not have been as complete as it appeared. There's substantial reason to believe Brennan maintained influence through loyal operatives and hidden protocols even after his official departure. The Spencer women in danger. Both Carly Spencer and her daughter Jocelyn remain dangerously unaware of the full extent of Brennan's manipulations and capabilities. Carly, despite her experiences with Port Charles's criminal elements, has been effectively charmed by Brennan's apparent concern for her family. This blind spot could prove catastrophic as Brennan continues to entangle himself in their lives, potentially using Carly's influence and connections for his own purposes while maintaining the facade of protection. Jocelyn's position is even more precarious. Having crossed the line into taking a human life under Brennan's guidance, she now stands at a crossroads. Will Brennan leverage this action to push her further into the role of assassin? The psychological conditioning has already begun normalizing violence as justice, framing emotional reactions as tactical decisions, and isolating her from potential support systems that might question her new path. Each successful mission would only deepen her dependence on Brennan's approval and protection. The Victor Cassadine connection, shared methodologies. The parallels between Brennan's operational style and that of Victor Cassadine cannot be dismissed as coincidental. Both men fundamentally transformed the WSB from an intelligence gathering and counter-terrorism organization into something more aligned with their personal agendas. The introduction of assassination as a standard WSB tactic began under Victor's leadership, but Brennan has refined and expanded this approach rather than returning the organization to its original mandate. Brennan's possible role as a Victor sympathizer would explain numerous inconsistencies in his public positions versus his actions. While officially opposing Victor's methods, he has effectively continued and expanded them, suggesting either shared ideology or a calculated adoption of successful tactics regardless of their source. This pragmatic approach to power makes Brennan potentially more dangerous than Victor. He lacks the Cassidine's flamboyance and family entanglements, operating instead with clinical precision and minimal personal attachments that could be exploited. The coming reckoning / As suspicions grow, particularly from the increasingly perceptive Jocelyn regarding Brennan's interest in her mother, a confrontation seems inevitable. The question remains whether Jocelyn will connect the dots in time to protect herself and her family from Brennan's machinations. Her unique position, both as Brennan's unwitting assassin and as someone close enough to observe his personal interactions, makes her perhaps the only person capable of exposing him before he consolidates too much power. The ultimate irony may be that in grooming Jocelyn as his perfect weapon, Brennan may have created the very instrument of his downfall. Her combination of intelligence, emotional investment, and newly developed operational awareness makes her uniquely positioned to recognize the patterns in Brennan's behavior that others miss. If she can overcome the psychological barriers he's carefully constructed, Jocelyn might not only save herself but also bring down one of the most dangerous threats Port Charles has ever faced, a threat hiding in plain sight behind a badge and a winning smile.